Hey everybody, how's it going? MattRuc here, and I am finally back. Sorry about the delay in videos. I've been pretty busy, but I wanted to make another video on the Ash Greninja. I'm sure many of you by now have probably got yourself one. So I wanted to actually go over what you're looking for as far as nature's moves that you wanted to know, and also what you're going to be doing as far as IV, or what you're looking for in terms of IVs and EV training as well, because we don't just want the Ash Greninja, we want it to be a god, essentially, right? You want it to be a beast of a Pokemon, and in order to do that, you got to train it right. So let's just jump into it.
Everybody jump!
Now, before we actually get into what you're going to be training and what you're looking for in your Ash Greninja, I want to go over a little bit of the background behind the Ash Greninja. So first things first, when he transforms into the Ash Greninja, you get a big boost to your attack and your special attack stats, right? And on top of that, one of the other bonuses that you get when it's Ash Greninja is a boost to the Water Shuriken ability. Now, for those of you who aren't sure of what that is, we're going to go take a look at it real quick. So it is a water type, or it's a water type move, base power of 15, accuracy of 100, and it's a physical type move. Now, what the Ash Greninja transformation does is it bumps the power up to 15, or up to 20, sorry, and it guarantees at least 3 hits with it every time you use it, rather than the minimum being 2. Now, what's unique about this move is that currently it is a physical type move. However, in Generation 7, they have swapped it to a special type move. So that's something that we have to keep in mind for the time being. But since right now it is just a physical move, we're going to go ahead and this build is going to be based around the fact that it is a physical type move currently. And if they do end up swapping it to a special type move, I will go ahead and make a new guide on how to develop the correct Ash Greninja at that point in time. First thing that you're going to do when you get your Ash Greninja is actually look at the IVs. As you can see, my Greninja has a weird name to it. And what I've done is just check the IVs and list which ones are perfect and the total amount of IVs that it has. Because obviously, the more IVs, the better. And obviously, you want specific IVs to be perfect because that's going to be what really gives your Ash Greninja the edge over other Pokemon in battle. So I'm going to go ahead and check the IVs once again for you on camera, and it's just /IV6. I have to use a dime this time, but you see the attack is 31, HP is 31, special attack is 31, and special defense is 28. Ideally, I'd like to have speed as a 31 as well to get both of those maxed out. But 145 total isn't too bad, and I've got I've got at least attack maxed out, which is great for the current setup that I've got going. But ideally, like I've said, attack and speed are the two that you really want to have perfect. The other ones will definitely help your Greninja make it stronger, but they're not necessary to make it successful. The next thing that you're going to want to take a look at is actually the nature of your Greninja. Ideally, I'm looking at my notes here because I want to make sure I say everything correctly. So there's 4 potential natures that you're going to want to look for with the current build, with the fact that Water Shuriken is physical right now, so you're primarily focused on attack. 2 of these are going to be useful if they do end up swapping it to special attack, but right now I'm just going to list the 2 that are for attack only. So the first one that you could possibly want is the Jolly nature, which increases speed and decreases special attack. The second one that you could possibly want is Adamant, which is attack up by 10% and special attack down by 10%. So for those of you not aware, natures, they increase one stat by 10% and decrease another by 10%. You know, it's a trade-off essentially, okay? Now that we've covered the natures, of course, I know you don't get to choose the natures, but just letting you know which ones you're really looking for. But the next thing you're going to want to do is EV train it properly. EV training helps your Pokemon become much stronger than, people who've improperly EV train their Pokemon. So this is something you really want to pay attention to because it's going to make or break your Greninja. It's going to make it super strong, super quick, and hopefully one-shot all the Pokemon that you're going to come into battle with. The first EV that you want to train is attack. You want to get 252 EVs into attack because Water Shuriken is your primary damage move with this character. It's the move that gets the buffs from the transformation and it's the one that you're gonna want to focus the damage from because it's gonna be a hard hitter. So you want to make sure you get the 252 EVs to max out the total bonus that you can get into attack by EV training. The next one that you want to train is speed. So you want to get 252 EVs into speed as well, because not only do you want to hit hard, you want to hit first, right? Ideally, you're going to hit first, and with the amount of attack that you have, you're going to one-shot every Pokemon that comes in your way. Ideally. It's not always going to happen, believe me. And then, with that being said, you'll have two of them at 252. You should have enough EVs left over to put, what is it, 8 or 6? I think it's 6 points into, I don't know, whatever you want, like special defense, or HP. For the time being, do not make sure it's not in special attack because that's not going to benefit the build at all. If you're unsure about which Pokemon you should battle in order to train those EVs, there is a helpful area in the spawn location to help you EV train. Also, there are items, and I don't want to get too far into detail about that just because it could take a whole nother video. But if you have questions about that, please leave a comment below. I can always make a video about EV training if you want me to. But just make sure you kill the right Pokemon and use the right items to make it go by as fast as possible. Now that we've covered the natures that you're looking for and the EV training of your Greninja, I want to talk about the typing that it has. So it's a water dark type, which means that it's going to be weak against bug, electric, fairy, fighting, and grass types. Now, I'm looking at my notebook, so I apologize for not looking at the camera. But this stuff is actually really important. So ideally, with those 5 types, you're gonna want to have a different Pokemon to counter them. But if you're forced to battle with your Greninja against these types, I've got a moveset that I think will be a pretty well-rounded. It'll give you, hopefully, the best chance of surviving. Now, the first move that you want to make sure that your Greninja has is Water Shuriken. It's the staple move of your Ash Greninja, right? It gets all the buffs. It's the one that we're really focusing on a physical type build. It's the one we're hoping can one-shot, ideally one-shot every Pokemon you come into battle with. It's not going to happen, but ideally it'll one-shot everything. So that's a given. That takes up one of the 4 slots we have for moves. The second move that I've got selected is Aerial Ace. Now, of the 5 weaknesses that Ash Greninja has, Bug, Fighting, and Grass are all weak against Flying. Aerial Ace is a Flying type move, and it never misses. And it is also a physical type move, which means it's going to get the benefit of your EV trains and potentially your nature if you get the correct nature, right? It benefits from the regular attack stat that you have on your Ash Greninja, which is why I've selected as the second move. Now, the third move slot, you've got 2 choices, at least with the build that I've kind of come up with. So I've decided that for the third move slot, you could use either Dig or Gunk Shot. Now, which one of those that you pick will determine which 4th move that I think you should go with. So let's start with Dig. Dig is a ground type move, which is great against the 4th weakness of electric type because it's ground. And on top of that, if you use it, you're immune for one of the turns, right? It's a 2-turn move. You dig underground, and the second turn you come up and attack. Well, during that turn that you're underground, you're immune to attacks, except Earthquake. Like, that's the only exception. But it's a good third move to have to take care of another weakness that you'd encounter with your Greninja. But my opinion is if you use Dig, you might want to use either Rain Dance or Rest, I guess, for a 4th move. So Rest would be good if you're trying to sustain, like, keep the battle going longer. Obviously, you fall asleep for a couple of turns and you heal up all the way. Or heal up a bunch of your HP if you're low. If you go with Rain Dance, you're going for the one-shot kill on everything. Rain Dance boosts the power of water-type moves, so you could ideally use Rain Dance and then get that boost to water-type move damage. And if you're trained your Greninja up properly and you get a good hit with your Water Shuriken, like 5 hits at 20 each, you could potentially one-shot even the monsters that you're weak to, I guess. Or at least that's my thinking, Please leave a comment below if you disagree. The other third move that you could potentially use is Gunk Shot, which is a poison type move, and that would take care of the fairy type weakness. And again, a 4th slot for that would be Rain Dance or Rest. It really depends on what you're going for. Both of those choices, as far as like Dig, Gunk Shot for a 4th, and then Rain Dance, Rests, I think that's a good combination to kind of think about. I wouldn't go dig and Gunk Shot to take your third or fourth. Yes, you'd have moves to cover all of your weaknesses, but then you've got no type of support move, which I think can really come back to hurt you in the long run. All right, so we're almost done with the guide. The last thing that I can think of to cover is what item that you might want your Greninja to actually hold to help it in battle. And I've only been able to come up with five ideas of what you might want it to have. And please let me know in the comments below if I've forgotten something, you know, a different item that might work better for a different scenario. Please, because I'm learning with you guys. Okay, I'm just doing my best to let you guys know what my research has shown. So. I've got 5 potential choices that you might want to use for an item. The first being a choice band. Now, the choice band increases a user's attack by 50%. However, it means you can only use one move the entire battle, or until your Pokemon gets knocked out, I believe. Which means if you're using this item, you're going to want to use Water Shuriken because it's going to get the 50% attack buff. And you're just hoping that it beats everything, right? It's kind of like hoping to God that, I don't know, it's kind of like a Hail Mary throw in football, right? The next possible item would be the Choice Scarf. Now, this item is kind of like the Choice Band, but it gives a 50% increase to speed, which means you should always go first. And with that in mind, again, you'd want to use a move that you think would take down the other Pokemon pretty quickly. Again, you should get to go first every time with this because Greninja has a huge speed stat to begin with, and with an additional 50%, I don't think you'd have any issue with going first. Again, you have the choice of a single move the entire battle, though, so they're okay choices. I wouldn't say they're probably the best, though, just because you're stuck with the single move the entire time. The next possibility would be a Focus Sash. Now, what this does is make sure that your Pokemon ends up with 1 HP. Like if it's like a knockout move that it gets hit with, it has 1 HP. Now, this can be good because not only do you not get knocked out for one additional turn, but if your Ash Greninja has the Water Turret ability, which I believe this one does. Let me check real quick. Summary. Or it's got the Turret ability, right? So it powers up Water type moves when Pokemon is in trouble. I believe that means it gives your Water type moves 50% increased damage when it's below 33% health. So the Focus Sash would make sure that it gets this buff, which would increase the damage of Water Shuriken by 50%, which is kind of like Choice Band, but you still have the option to use the different moves if you have them. The next possible item that you might want is Mystic Water. Now, this is an item that permanently boosts your water moves. Water Shuriken again. That's what I'm focusing on, guys. That's what these items are focused around, is the water type move, Water Shuriken. And this boosts all water type moves by 20%. Again, the only move that gets the buff from this would be the Water Shuriken move. And the final item that I could possibly think of is if you're going in like a 1v1 battle and you're hoping for that one-shot kill, a Water Gem. Because that would increase the damage of Water Shuriken by 30%, but it's a one-time use. So if you use Water Shuriken once, it only gets that damage buff that single time. So you guys be the judge of what item you think would be the best for your own Greninja. Again, these are not by any means rules, like things that you should for sure follow. It's just what I've found to be maybe good choices to use if you have to pick one. So I'd probably go with Focus Sash to begin with, just because I think it gives you the most versatility with your Pokemon, and that's the one I'm probably gonna put on to this one, just because again, if it goes down to 1 HP, you get the Turret ability, which boosts your water type moves, and hopefully you can finish off whatever Pokemon puts you into the critical situation to begin with that 50% buff. One thing that I want to mention before we end this video is Water Shuriken is a stab move, which means it should get a 50% damage boost because it's stab for Greninja. 2, the Rain Dance ability that I mentioned is another 50% damage boost for water type moves. And 3, the Turret ability, that my Greninja has is another 50% damage buff for water type moves if it's in critical. So that is effectively 150% increase in damage. Shuckle, don't you do it. I am in the middle of a video, Shuckle. But what I'm trying to get at, guys, is if, let's say you got your Greninja, you properly EV trained it for the attack, and you hit with the Water Shuriken for 25 times, right? So that'd be essentially a 100 powered move, right? You'd hit it 5 times for 20 each. And with your maxed out attack, you're going to be hitting hard to begin with. But if you figure in the effect of stab, rain dance if you have that going, and then if you're in critical zone with turret, it's 150% extra on top of that 100. So I don't know if the multiplication factors are additive or multiplicative. So if it's additive, it'd be 150% additional to that 100. So it'd be essentially a 250 power move with all of those abilities active. If it's multiplicative, it'd be way more insane. It'd be 50 or 1.5 to the third power, which would be somewhere in the 3.1. It'd be like 400 power, which I can't possibly imagine is how that is calculated, just because of the fact it'd be so overpowered. It would, honestly, it would one-shot everything as far as I could imagine. So keep that in mind. Like, you're looking for these things to start stacking their damage because, again, it's the power move of Greninja, and with everything stacked up, it's a lot stronger than just 20 power, 3 times. It's going to be significantly higher than that. As I mentioned at the start of this video, right now, Water Shuriken is a physical type of move, which is why we're focused on the attack stat. In Generation 7, they did update it to a special type attack move. So if that happens in Pixelmon Reforged, I will develop a new guide to developing a really powerful Greninja. And so just keep that in mind, guys. Don't worry about it right now, but just keep in mind that it could happen in a future update for this mod. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this guide. Hopefully it was helpful for you. If you do have a Greninja, hopefully you do. And if you like this video, please consider hitting that like button. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button down there. I mean, I would certainly appreciate it. And then you certainly wouldn't miss out on any of the future videos that I do come out with. And hopefully they will be helpful for you in the future when you're developing your next strong Pokemon. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.